taking them off their lands, or telling them what they can do with their lands, or can't do with their lands. Just about everyone, even the most politically lethargic, can be aroused if their hot button is pushed. There's a dedicated difference between how humanists perceive hot button issues and how we do. This is very important, again, to understand how this works. Hard leftists, knowingly or unknowingly, operate on the false assumption that class warfare exists. They believe that it's still blacks against whites and Mexicans against everybody. They still believe that it is union versus slave labor employers. They still believe it is the welfare recipients against the welfare fund generators. They believe that these classes, the middle class versus the upper class and the lower class, they believe this class warfare exists. Okay, they're wrong. They think it's a battle for power. Thus, the road to humanist power is to politicize these different classes. That's why they organize the Acorn people amongst that class. That's why they organize the Brady campaign and the Violence Policy Center, those people that have been victimized by gun violence as a class. That's why they want the racial animosity between blacks and browns and Asians and whites or Americans or Irish, everything. Okay? Any good lie has some element of truth to it. There are some basic differences between people, yes. However, not to the degree where we are segregated into classes by race, wealth, or occupation, each with opposing and antagonistic thought. To the left, there is no common reasoning that binds us all together, rules that govern all our behavior, immutable laws applicable to all and written in each heart. They don't believe that. Let me put it in a different way. They don't believe that a God exists and has an influence on people. That there are laws that are there and they can't be broken. They don't believe that. That's why they think this class warfare exists. Rejecting God's laws and following their own set of assumptions, the liberals approach the voters as a class. The elderly, the minorities, labor are appealed to as support for their candidates because they are pro-labor, pro-elderly, pro-woman, etc. This whole idea is derived from the assumption that we are nothing more than matter in motion, evolutionary beasts controlled by our environment, advanced animals whose thoughts are influenced totally by our class. So reasons the left, the elitist left, appeal to class and you control. That's what they think. In absence of any other approach, it has worked for them. Yes?
I mean, to interrupt because this is interesting, but I'm just seeing one of the things that's happening and we're seeing it over at the university right now is this diversity. Is this something that's coming on more and more? We're pushing it because this is diversity.
Sorry about that. Diversity is their way of exploiting class warfare by saying that diversity is needed because there is class warfare.
Yes. Yes.
Okay? So that's their way of putting it in a public light.
It's something new, isn't it?
It's a different name to a single thing. It's a different name to a single thing, yes.
No, because basically, when I went back to school in the 70s, the thing was class warfare. They did have, basically, I did liberal things back when I was younger. And I'm going to admit it. And basically what they did is they wanted to keep the warfare going. They never wanted a solution. And that's what I basically found out, and other people would think would be able to find out, is they don't want the solution. They want to keep it going. So it isn't a new thing. It's just been repackaged under the word diversity for you.
Okay.
Marxism.
That's right.
Right.
Okay, so what they do, because they believe that everything is in a class, they appeal to that class. They rifle shoot each of those classes and try to exploit that situation. That's what they organize around. That's what they train people around. Those are the concepts. In the absence of any other technique, class warfare works more often than it fails. That's in a vacuum, without anything pushing back. Class, then, to a leftist is of prime importance. Issues are of secondary importance. In other words, they use the issues to influence the class into political action to put them in power. Doesn't matter what the issue is. You come up with a different issue, it's just another class that they're going to try and influence. Is there a better way? You bet there is. The class warfare concept relegates people to a caste system of thought where age, occupation, race, sex is the dominant motivation. Although such characterizations have some influence, it isn't the driving force behind an individual's behavior. People, given a diversification of talents by God, are issue-oriented. Some subjects are boiling hot and incendiary that overpower and sublimate any class differences that may exist. And the proof in that is you look at any of these issues. You look at abortion. You see brown, black, white, yellow, green, purple, all of them. You see guns. Black, white, brown, purple, green, everything. You see homeschoolers. Now more than ever. Black, brown, white, purple, green, yellow. All of the issues that we can talk about. Anti-tax. We have enough black, brown, green, Irish who have lost their jobs, and they're worried about taxes. And they're worried about the economy. So it isn't about class. We go to any of our meetings and we see it all. They're all there. So it isn't about class. They're wrong. Issues like abortion blast across race, ethnic, and economic lines with passionate intensities. Others like Second Amendment, right to work, family values, excessive taxation, take mild-mannered, gentle citizens and transform them into placard-carrying zealots. Dun dun dun. Good video? Restricted gun laws are...
Yes, that's it.
We just talked about this. Gun laws are a perfect example. You know, it cuts across all the social lines. It's a fiery hot issue. Politicians lose their jobs over it in this case. Now politicians are staying away from it. Everyone with an IQ of over 50 has a hot button. Everyone. And the list of buttons is growing, not shrinking. Rejoice that socialist programs haven't worked, and every day somebody new is gored by regulation, taxation, and moral corruption in high places. Think how depressing it would be if socialism worked. The fact that they are in power now, whether we like it or not, is a blessing. Because it is showing more and more people how screwed up those people are. That's a wonderful thing for freedom. Again, issues drive people. Our job is to identify these issues one by one, organize them, educate them around their hot buttons, register them to vote, and turn them on election day. We do that and we win. Guns is a narrow issue. Abortion is a narrow issue. Traditional marriage is a narrow issue. The ban that the tax, the Tea Party takes is quite a bit wider, but still a narrow issue, and is affecting a lot of people. As a matter of fact, when I talk to Tea Party groups, I only spend the first couple of minutes talking about guns, because I know there's some people out there who don't care about guns. I know that there's some people out there who might be pro-abortion. I know there are some people out there who don't care about gay marriage. But they are so sick and tired about taxes and regulation and the jobs that they're losing that they want to be involved. So my job is not to hack them off and get them mad on the issue of guns. I see my job as encouraging them to be involved in this process and being effective and electing people. By and large, the people who support the Tea Party are going to be pro-gun, they're going to be pro-life, they're going to be all these other things. But they don't care about those issues nearly as much as getting their job back and feeding their families.
Freedom.
Let's review how the typical conservative candidate, Mr. Wright, sends out literature to voters. The standard procedure is to put together a brochure relating how he honestly feels on most issues, then sends it out to every voter in the district. In the campaign piece, Mr. Wright identifies 10 subjects dear to his heart. The brochure is received by Mr. Gump, a man who usually votes. Mr. Gump agrees with Mr. Wright on most of the issues, such as the right to own guns, excessive taxes, and family values, but on one point, it gores his ox. Mr. Gump is a factory worker, and his union has often told him that the right to work issue will cost him his job. The leftist candidate, Mr. Wrong, tells Gump, sends him a slick pamphlet telling him that Mr. Wrong is not only endorsed by Gump's union, but he loves motherhood, blue sky, and little else. Excuse me, Mr. Wrong doesn't explain that he's for gun confiscation, expansion of government, thinks homosexuality is just another lifestyle, and that he has been endorsed and has received contributions from all the gay clubs in San Francisco and Hollywood. He just kind of neglects to tell him that. Okay? The day before the election, the union calls Mr. Gump, tells him to vote wrong, and that right is too far to the right. Guess how Mr. Gump will vote? What would the outcome have been if Mr. Gump had been identified beforehand as being good on the issues of family, guns, and taxes, and had then been told by a pro-family group that candidate Wrong was endorsed by the gays and lesbians? What might have happened? What if the organizations favoring candidate Wright had only communicated to Mr. Gump on those single issues? Would it make a difference? I believe there's little doubt about it. Americans aren't dumb, just uninformed on some issues. Another important point, in those closing moments of campaigns, literature received directly from candidates is usually looked upon as self-serving pieces of propaganda, especially if the material is derogatory of the opposition. We get the hit pieces. They come from a candidate. You know? So the average person says, you know, I'm tired of this. This is just a hit piece. But if the same negative material comes from an independent organization, like a gun organization writing to the voters and saying, this guy's a dirty, rotten, no good for nothing, gun stealing, anti-Second Amendment dirtbag, and we don't think you should vote for him. They'll put some credence into that because it's coming from a gun organization. Just like as the Tea Party continues to grow and become more sophisticated on the local level and on a national level, and you folks start deciding that maybe a mailer from the Tea Party going to voters in this district is going to have an impact. The fact that you are telling people, as Tea Party people, we think this person is anti-America, anti-capitalism, pro-taxes, pro-regulations and stuff. They're going to say, this has come from the Tea Party. Those people know what they're talking about. I'm going to pay attention to that. But if it comes from the candidate, they say, that's just another hit piece.
You know, that would label us as fanatics. A lot of people, when you say Tea Party, they think you're a fanatic.
What's that? Say that again?
Fanatics. We get labeled as fanatics.
That's true. Some people would say, that's just coming from fanatics. It depends on who you send it to. If you're sending it to people who, in most cases, would be likely to vote, but for whatever reason aren't planning to vote, and they get that might be the issue that brings them out. You're not sending them to all of the Democrats. You're sending them to Republicans and some independents, certainly all of the libertarians and Constitution Party, all of the conservative groups. You want them to get that information. Because in the general, they can all influence that election. Well, you guys all know about computer technology. You're already using it better than almost anybody out there. The candidate who identifies the hot buttons of his constituency, registers them, effectively communicates, and turns enough of them out of the polls will usually win, no matter what the registration disadvantages are. The problem is that a lot of our candidates, they shoot with a shotgun instead of shooting with a rifle, and picking the specific hot button issues that people want to know about. Particular people. Well, that takes work. It's figuring out what issues people want to know about. So identifying hot buttons is of critical importance. The left is operating on a flawed concept, thereby inhibiting them. Their bad ideas work to our advantage, but we